We have lots of shared things, shared profession being one of them, both of us being psychologists, and really a shared mission and passion for helping people.
And I like to help people with things that are simple. So we don't need to spend a lot of money. We don't need to go to some fancy place. These are things that we can do on our worst days when we have very little time or physical or mental energy to do much of anything. Things for simple energy boost to help us feel better, shifting our mindset in simple ways to feel lighter, things like that. That's my mission in life, is to, in my personal life for anybody who'll listen to me, as well as my clients. My life hasn't been easy. In fact, I was quite an ungrateful teen and young adult, and it took tragedy in my life to become a grateful person and really discover the power of gratitude and things, and why these things really do work on our most difficult days. And so I like to highlight that because I have the personal experience. I don't just speak as a psychologist in the research. I speak from the heart. These are things that worked for me and really got me through the most difficult time of my life.
Welcome to the podcast, Empowered by Design. I'm your host, Dr. Liz, a licensed psychologist and owner of Visionistas by Design Wellness Boutique in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. This podcast is about the power of connection and a proactive approach to mental health and overall wellness. It's about finding and owning your power right now and using it for good by nurturing the connection of body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit. Empowered by Design podcast delivers psychological concepts and practical strategies with a real-life approach, designed to empower health and wellness, optimal performance, authentic connection with yourself and others, and purposeful, joyful living. Be well, live empowered, dream, design, deliver. Welcome to episode 53 of the Empowered by Design podcast. I am Dr. Liz, your host, and I'm so excited to get to this amazing and inspiring conversation with my special guest, Dr. Peggy DeLong, the Gratitude Psychologist. As you know, if you've been listening, and if you have, thank you so much for coming back, that we are coming up on the 1-year anniversary birthday of this podcast. And of course, that means we're celebrating. And I want to celebrate with you. I want to hear your celebrations. So this is your reminder to click on the link on my website, drliz.com. You can find it on the homepage, and you can find it on the podcast page. You can also find it on social media. There's links all over the place. You can find it on visionistasbydesign.com as well, on my page there. Because we really, really, really want to hear your celebrations. We just know the power of celebrating together, recognizing the hope, the encouragement, just the positive vibes that we get from hearing other people's celebrations, sharing our own, and sharing our dreams. So share your dreams, share your celebrations with me. And maybe they'll be shared on the upcoming birthday celebration episode of the podcast. Head over to those places, follow me on social media, find me at Dr. Liz on Instagram and on Facebook, and I would love, love, love to hear your celebration. Even if you don't want it featured on the podcast, we'd love to hear it anyway. There is a place where you can click keep this private, but we would love to hear them. And there's something so powerful as well of putting it out there, talking about it, writing about it. I promise you'll feel a little bit better if you share your own. And I will talk more about, of course, my own celebrations as I have been throughout this year. And thank you for coming back. Thank you for following along. If you're new, welcome. This is a fabulous episode to be tuning into, and I'm going to get right into it. Dr. Peggy DeLong is a psychologist known as the Gratitude Psychologist. She teaches people how to harness the power of gratitude and joy to live their best lives, especially through difficult times. She does this through psychotherapy, her online monthly membership, Feeling Good with Dr. Peggy, online courses, speaking engagements, books, and bracelets. Peggy is the author of I Can See Clearly Now, a memoir about love, grief, and gratitude, The Gratitude Journal, a 365-day gratitude journey, and Feeling Good, 35 proven ways to happiness, even during tough times. She is also the owner of Love in a Bracelet, where she designs bracelets for mental health and inspiration. Peggy coordinates a weekly women's walking group, and she hosts women's hiking events for spiritual growth and personal development. When she's not focused on her business, you'll find Peggy with her husband and 3 children in the mountains, downhill or telemark skiing, kayaking, hiking, or mountain biking. Ooh, that sounds amazing. Welcome, Peggy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Liz.
I'm so excited to have this chat with you. Um, we're going to talk about how we met, how we became connected. We have a shared, lots of shared things, shared profession being one of them, both of us being psychologists, and really a shared mission and passion for helping people. But I'm going to stop talking and just turn the mic over to you and just tell us about yourself, your purpose, your passion, your mission, and the work that you do.
Sure. Well, my passion, as you mentioned, is to help people find joy even on the most difficult day. And right now we're in tough times. And my book that was published last year really is, 35 different ways to do that. And the book was actually ready to be published before the pandemic hit. And then I paused publication because I really felt that I wanted to incorporate stories of how people have used some of these methods during the pandemic, just further evidence that these tools are so simple and they work on our worst days. I know they work on our worst days because I've used all of them. They started as ideas really from my childhood, simple things that I was very fortunate to discover as a kid. If I had a difficulty with a friend at lunch that day, things that I did when I got home from school that made me feel better, or a breakup with a boyfriend in high school, what I did to feel better, things that I just kind of stumbled upon that felt good, and then I just kept on doing them. And then when I became a psychologist, it became very interesting to me to research these. Why do these things work, and to study the brain science behind them. I knew intuitively that they felt good, and I would teach my clients, and we'd come up with plans with individual clients what worked for them. But I really wanted to know why. What about these things makes them so effective? So, and my publisher really challenged me to find research related to every single idea that I proposed. So it's not just me and it's not just my clients, but the research demonstrates that these ideas truly do work. And I like to help people with things that are simple. So we don't need to spend a lot of money. We don't need to go to some fancy place. These are things that we can do on our worst days when we have very little time or physical or mental energy to do much of anything. Things for simple energy boost to help us feel better, shifting our mindset in simple ways to feel lighter, things like that. That's my mission in life, is to, in my personal life for anybody who'll listen to me, as well as my clients.
I love that. There's so much in there that you just said that I was like, yes, yes, yes. I love it so much. I love that you really highlight that these are things that intuitively you've been doing for years and years from the time you were young, little, and that then you use that to help other people, and then also were able to where you were able to find the research to support it. I love that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I can give you an example of some of the very
I
simple
would
things
love
that
it. Yes.
it helped, help me as a child, and are really um, some of the things that I do on a regular basis, if not daily, to help just dealing with the pandemic and difficult times. And I also, just a little bit of history. I think that it's helpful for the listeners to understand that, my life hasn't been easy. I, in fact, I was quite an ungrateful teen and young adult, and it took tragedy in my life to become a grateful person and really
Mm,
discover the power of gratitude and things, and why these things really do work on our most difficult days. So, when I was in my mid 20s, I was engaged to a wonderful man who unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer 3 months into our engagement.
mm,
And we were told that he had a very aggressive form of cancer, and his chances of survival were very small. Unfortunately, he passed away 7 months later. It was a very aggressive form, and it was just a really difficult 7 months, and he passed away. And then 6 weeks later, unexpectedly, my father passed away.
mm,
And I had come home to live with my parents after I was applying to graduate school. I had gotten into a doctoral program. I was all set to start my life. I had a beautiful apartment, and everything fell apart. And then I came back home to live with my parents, and in my childhood home, in my familiar bedroom, in the comfort with my loving parents. And then suddenly my father died. So my
mm.
mother and I found ourselves two young widows. I was 26, she was 52. And through these strategies and things that I teach, both of us were able to rebuild our lives. So I like to highlight that because I have the personal experience. I don't just speak as a psychologist in the research. I speak from the heart. These are things that worked for me and really got me through the most difficult time of my life. So one of them is simply nature.
Mm,
I love nature. We can even you utilize nature in the city, and with trees and even weeds that might grow through the cracks on the sidewalk, and even photographs on the days that we can't get outside. There's tremendous healing power in nature. And specifically, if we can seek out trees and water, those are really powerful. But simply just being outside and taking a deep breath of air does wonders, particularly
mhm.
during the winter, and even more so when we have so many restrictions with COVID and things that we normally might do, to be mindful of getting that fresh air, getting sunlight, and what it does with the brain, and serotonin and dopamine to help us lift our spirits and our energy and our mood. That is one simple thing that we can do. And if you have more time and access to beautiful places, use that. Uh, Connect with trees, spend some time on a favorite trail, gaze at a sunset,
Mm.
whatever's available. And on the days that aren't, even looking at a photograph and listening to water sounds. There's tremendous healing and soothing power of listening to the sound of water, even water that comes out of the faucet while you're in the shower. So I often recommend to my clients to utilize that, even on the busiest of days. Pay attention to how the water sounds and feels as it hits your head when you're in the shower. That can be, we most of the time shower every day, and it is something we're already doing it, so it's not extra time to utilize the healing power of listening to water. So
Yeah.
that's just
Oh yeah, no, I love that, especially right now where we are. We're in the northeast of the country, and so it's cold. Today we had in my area we had our first snowstorm. So as I'm looking at you on the screen and looking out the window, there's snow on the ground, which is beautiful. And for a lot of people, it's a really tough season. For all of us, as human beings, it's a if you are in a four season climate, the winter can be really tough. We're limited, as you're talking about nature. We are somewhat limited as with the options and with the temperature. I'm personally do not love winter. I personally am much more energetic about spring, fall, and summer with the warmth. But I love that idea of finding ways to be connected with nature, even if you're where you're geographically located, perhaps in a city, and don't have nature all the time around you. But also if it's a season where the leaves are gone, so the trees are bare, and sometimes that looks sad, but we can look at pictures, use the things that we have each, with like a shower. And even as you were talking, I was imagining closing my eyes and um, imagining it as a waterfall rather than a shower. And
Mhm.
yeah, so and
Yes.
using using our imagination, so guided imagery or doing a guided meditation that is a nature one.
Yes.
Wonderful ideas.
So I love that you mentioned the visualization part. Yes, we can absolutely add visualization to that, and you can imagine the shower being a waterfall and
Hmm.
washing away your worries of the day.
Hmm.
Or if you have a physical issue of any kind, imagining it fueling your immune system and helping your body be just the power of visualization. I love that there's research behind our the mind body connection and how simply thinking about these things helps to boost our immune functioning and increase help build white blood cells to fight off infection. It's truly amazing. And I also wanted to mention that even barren trees without leaves, the studies show that even in looking at trees without leaves results in a boost in mood. There was one study that looked at landscape with trees in the middle of winter and the landscape without any trees, and people reported more of a positive mood looking at the trees. So they don't even have to have leaves on them.
Oh,
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, and I'm one of the I love winter. I love it when it's cold. So that helps me to get out there. I just went for I'm near you. We got about 5 inches of snow here,
Okay.
and I made sure to get outside with my snow boots, and like that energizes me. So I'm always part of all. I always try to help people love winter. That's part of why I started the walking group. I started it as a weekly women's winter walking group. It was
Oh,
only meant to be for
wow.
the winter, to help women get outside when most people tend to stay in because
Hmm.
of the temperatures.
I'm raising my
Um,
hand. Raising my hand
you're
on
not
that.
alone. Most people do, but we need that sunlight. We still need that
Yes.
fresh air and sunlight. And there was one great study that came out, I think it was around 2014 in the fall. And the timeliness of me reading that, it was about the mental health benefits of walking with other people in nature. And it just
Hmm.
inspired me to start the women's walking group. And we were entering winter. I didn't want to wait till spring. So I thought, well, this can be one way that I can help women get outside and maybe not necessarily love winter, but at least hate it a little less.
Yes.
And we just kept on walking, and we've been going now for 7 years,
Oh my
and
goodness. I love that.
it's just a great way to bond and people always report feeling better after the walk. So it doesn't have to be with other people, but that's another exercise is another wonderful tool for feeling better.
I'm
And
smiling. No, I'm smiling because as when I saw it on I think either on your Instagram or your website about the walking group, and you had mentioned it, I knew about it before, but the first thought I had was, oh, I wonder if she takes a break in the winter because of the winter. But I love this is really helpful for me too, because I'm thinking of how can I, stretch that muscle of discomfort with myself. And, I have really fun winter hats and scarves and mittens that I can put on and boots. I did get boots a few years ago. So it is inspiring even for me to be hearing just how wonderful it has been for you and the people that work with you and that connect with you in the women's walking group. And thank you for the research too. You're giving us all the great info. Thank you.
and it's important to feel warm. So when I love winter and I love the cold, but I don't like feeling cold.
Mm.
So the proper gear can make all the difference in the world. If you're cold, I don't know anybody who enjoys feeling cold.
Hmm.
So just making sure you have just the enough warm scarves and hats and gloves and warm boots and even hand warmers and toe warmers. When I ski, I would not be able to ski without hand warmers or toe warmers. I just got back from 3 days in Vermont where it was about 7 degrees, but it was enjoyable because I was warm. I was able to stay warm. It
Nice.
makes all the difference in the world.
Wow. Yeah. I love nature. I was, when you were talking about it, especially, as we are back in a surge of COVID, I had COVID over the summer. which I was thinking I was actually having some gratitude for the fact that I had it in the summer, even though I had been vaccinated. It was a shocker. Um, but I was so very intentional during my COVID, quarantine to find a way to get outside. So I, cleared a path and wore my mask and got right outside without passing anyone in the house. But really, really tried almost I tried every day to get into nature and just feel grounded, right? Like take my shoes off and really lay down in the grass and just feel connected to nature because it feels good. But as you're mentioning, there is tons of research to support that it is really, really healthy for us as well.
Yes, yes. And it's one of the simplest things that we can do to get so much bang for our buck, that it helps mental health, it helps physical health,
Hmm.
it helps with optimal immune functioning. There's just so many wonderful benefits. And when you're with other people, people report feeling closer to each other after they have spent some time in nature together. So I often recommend that when I'm working with moms and daughters. Yes, shopping is fun and going to the mall and shopping, but people actually report more closeness when they spend some time in nature
Hmm.
together.
Wow.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. And just to clarify, because I think it might be confusing, my gratitude for having COVID in the summer was because a few of my family members have had it in the winter. And I think, gosh, it wouldn't have been as much fun for me to go outside in the winter as it was in the summer.
Yes,
But
if you're not feeling well,
right. Yeah.
yes, I
Yeah.
know when I have a cold and my throat is sore,
Yeah.
the cold air against the throat doesn't always
Hmm.
feel great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm, hmm.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that is a great tip. I can't help but comment right now on your beautiful necklace. And it connects with the one of the things I love, love, love about your journey and your story is the bracelets, which I mentioned in the bio, but the beautiful colors that you have there. But tell us a little bit about your love in a bracelet, and yeah, I just you already know, and I will share that I purchased two of them this Christmas season for grandmothers in the family, and so I'll talk a little bit about that. But first, I would love to hear your sharing of that journey for you.
Sure. Well, it's been a wonderful ride making these bracelets and turning my hobby and passion into a real business. And it started kind of in two different ways. I when my children were very young, I guess my son was 3 and my daughters were 5 and 6. My town ran an adult programming, so you could learn photography, jewelry making, sewing, all different things for adults. And I thought, let me just try jewelry making. I have 2 daughters. It'll be a great way for us to spend time together as they get older, and lots of birthday party favors and gifts. But I quickly became addicted to the healing power of beading. I enjoyed it
Mm,
so much. And at that time in my life, my private practice was pretty much 100% doing forensic evaluations. So I was doing court ordered evaluations for child protection services. So people who were court mandated to see me, most of the time, the families had the children had been removed from the home, and they were working toward reunification, and my job was to make recommendations to the court for what they needed to do for a successful reunification. And reading the stories and evaluating the clients was very, very emotional work. And I would write my reports until midnight, and I found that I had a really hard time falling asleep
mm,
after doing that kind of work.
mhm,
Just very heavy situations of abuse and neglect that would stay in my mind if I didn't do something before I went to sleep. So I would simply bead, just do a couple things, make some earrings, bracelets, make something to help me feel better and unwind. So then my hobby became Peggy's Midnight Creations, because I literally made them at midnight.
mm,
And then I thought about what was given to me when my fiance passed away. I received angels in so many different forms: pillows, pens, everything, pins. But the one thing that really was so special was being able to wear an angel bracelet on my wrist when I returned to work after my leave of absence, so that even in the middle of my workday, I could look down and see that bracelet with the angel on it and feel connected to him, and also feel the love of the friends that gave it to me. So it was just so special. So when I thought about turning the hobby into a business, I really wanted to focus on bracelets for coping with grief and loss. And so it was called Peggy's Midnight Creations to begin with. And I just rebranded this past year to Love in a Bracelet, because that really represents what it is. It's love for the person buying it to give to their recipient. It's love that I pour into making it.
Mhm.
And really is just all about love for the
Yeah.
loved one who has passed away. So I just felt like that was the perfect name for the new company. So it brings me so much joy to make them. Like, I get so fired up when I get orders, whether it can be sometimes for loss, other times for celebrations, other times for connections and milestones in life. I love custom orders like yours that were so much fun to make.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
it just brings
gosh.
me so much joy.
Yes, and I love love, so we connect on that for sure. Um, yeah, and I will tell you, and I've never shared this with you, but when we first met, so it kind of comes into how we met. We met a few years ago in the Unstuck Entrepreneur coaching program with Sean Miner, and I remember the very first call that you were joining the season, because I had been there just in the previous season, and we had a welcome call, and you were talking about your business, and you talked about the bracelets too. And I wrote down in my planner, I was like, Peggy bracelets, question mark, because one of the things that I had thought of, um, my mother-in-law had given me a really pretty little bracelet, and it was tiny silver beads, so the small ones, with a cloud on it, like a tiny little cloud with the silver lining, and it was similar to how you described the angel bracelet. It was I would wear it on my wrist, and I would just be a wonderful token symbol reminder of, even in our darkest days. Ooh, I get a little emotional just saying it. Even in our darkest days, there is sunshine and there are silver linings. And so it's very, very meaningful to me to, be able to pass along, share, inspire that hope and love for others, personally, professionally. And for my business visionistas, the heart is our symbol, and an open heart, an open purple heart. So there's a lot there. And my vision is someday to have a very similar kind of idea of just the beads, and then a tiny little charm of our heart. And when I met you that way through the coaching program, I was like, okay, this might be someone who can help me, because sometimes I have lots of ideas. I'm a person of tons of ideas, but I don't always know how to make the idea into a reality. And so I just love, love, love looking at your creations. So we're going to tell people where to find you. But right now, if you're, as you're listening, you can look up Love in a Bracelet on Instagram, right?
Yes.
Yep, Love in a Bracelet. They're gorgeous. And so as the holidays were approaching, there's so many different ideas that you posted, and then I we have lots of grandchildren in the family, and I reached out and said, could it be possible to do a bracelet with all of the beads representing the birth months of the grandchildren? And you made it happen. So Grammy DeBoer got one and Nanny Kreider got one for Christmas, and they both absolutely loved, loved, loved them. They're beautiful. And so, the bracelets that you send, they come with a little card, little message, and there were lots of tears of joy and love. So they were so special. So check those out. Check them out. They're wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I'm so good. That means so much to me. And it's hearing those stories and receiving messages and texts and photos of people wearing
Mm,
them, that brings me so much joy to know that it means so much to people. In the beginning, I had to get over the thought it's just a bracelet, because
mm.
it's so much more
Oh,
than a
so much
bracelet.
more. Yeah, it is
Um, and
so,
I
yeah.
and I particularly love working with gemstones and the healing power of different
Hmm.
gemstones. And my favorite is rose quartz,
Oh,
known
love
as
it.
the stone of love.
Love it.
Um, so I try to incorporate rose quartz into just about every design.
Hmm.
And just a neat story, when I was in having some challenges in my private practice and quite not quite knowing which direction to go in. Do I still focus on my private practice and my individual clients, or do I keep making bracelets? I love to go to a labyrinth. A friend of mine introduced me to the power of the labyrinth, and when you walk in with a question and just seeking some guidance in your life, and think about that question, and just be open to receiving whatever messages come your way. And I just happened to be driving by a labyrinth one day, and I went in with the question, like, do I spend any more time on this bracelet business? Is it going anywhere? And I'm getting toward the middle of the labyrinth and contemplating this question. I'm feeling a little bit disappointed because nothing's quite coming to me. And then, right smack in the middle of the labyrinth, someone had placed two rose quartz crystals.
Oh my goodness.
And I could not have been given a stronger
Oh,
sign to keep making bracelets with rose quartz.
I
So,
have chills through this whole story. The spirit is moving inside my body. I love it so much.
and that's the way I feel when I make
Mm,
these. I
hmm.
can't even describe what it does for me, and for the buyer and the recipient. So it's so special when I get to hear. Sometimes I never know where it's going when a stranger
Mm,
buys one and I
hmm.
never hear again. But other times people are so moved that they will share with me
Hmm.
either. A photograph of the two, especially if they buy matching ones, and the two wrists together,
Oh,
and
that's
friendships.
cute.
It's just so meaningful to me.
I love that idea. Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm excited. So when I ordered them, I didn't post because I didn't want one grandmother to see it before the other grandmother and ruin the surprise. But yes, I will post our pictures too because they're gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And I also love the rose quartz. So it was hard for me to decide because I was looking at the ones that you had. I love the ones that have the rose quartz and then I don't know the name, the black stone too. What's that called?
Onyx.
Yes, onyx, of course. Yeah, but those are really pretty too. Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
hmm
yes, and jewelry. It's just gorgeous.
Well, and I love that I get to use just about everything that brings me joy. I love to
Mm,
write, so everything comes with an inspirational card. I love beading, and I love supporting people with mental health. So I focus on, in addition to receiving custom orders for anything, I focus on bracelets for mental health and coping with grief and loss. And my one of my favorites to make is the gratitude bracelet,
mm,
because I love helping people find gratitude in everyday living. And wearing a gratitude bracelet is one extension of that. And the idea is that when you're wearing the bracelet, there's got everyone chooses their own gemstone, and it's got one singular metal bead. And then as the person is wearing the bracelet throughout the day and looks at the metal bead, it's just a quick reminder to stop what you're doing and think about one thing that you're grateful for. And then when you're wearing the bracelet, you may have gone through the day maybe 10 times, pausing for a moment and thinking about what you're grateful for. And all of that adds up and helps us to be more positive thinkers and truly to see the world in a more positive light.
yeah, I love that. And can you tell how you became the gratitude psychologist? How did that happen?
Sure. As I mentioned earlier, I was an ungrateful teen, an ungrateful young adult. I grew up in an area of tremendous privilege, and always did that teenage comparison thing where I never had enough because somebody else had more, and probably gave my parents a really hard time. And it makes me sad now that I didn't appreciate what I had now, because I had so much.
Hmm.
And it brings tears to my eyes thinking
Yeah.
about it, how fortunate I was, but didn't appreciate it. And it really took tragedy in my life to discover the power of gratitude and truly to be grateful for and appreciate everything that I did have. And I discovered the power of gratitude in a simple cup of hazelnut coffee on the worst day of
Mm.
my life. So my fiance was battling cancer, and he had ups and downs. There were periods of where we thought he was going to be okay, and then he was hospitalized at the very end, and the doctors tried everything, and they said that there was nothing left that they could do for him, and that he was going to die. And it was in those last days when I didn't know when he was going to die. I didn't know if it was going to be when I was in the room or when I took a break to go to the bathroom or what doctors were going to come by. Some days he couldn't open up his eyes, other days he couldn't speak. I never knew what each day was going to be like. It was so unpredictable
Mm.
and
Yeah.
so much anxiety and just so very heavy.
Yeah, like I'm touching my heart with there's just such a heaviness there. Yeah.
And I was so young. I was
Mm.
26, and it was just a really difficult time. So much unpredictability after hearing those words that there was nothing left that they could do for him. And the one thing that was predictable was that I could get a cup of hazelnut coffee, and I couldn't understand why that cup of coffee brought me so much comfort. Now I understand. Now I know that what I was doing was practicing gratitude when when so
Mm.
much had been stripped, all of my hopes and dreams taken away. Uh, and losing him and seeing him slowly die, it was just horrible. But that cup of hazelnut coffee, how the visitors would leave at 8 p.m. and I was allowed to stay, and in those quiet moments of being next to his bedside and wrapping my hands around the warmth of the cup, and the aroma made his hospital room just seem less sterile.
Mm.
And the warmth of the cup, everything just comforted me. And that's when I discovered gratitude. And then as a psychologist, it became I really wanted to study what's going on here. Why is gratitude so powerful? And I love that we have so much advances in technology that we can study what happens in the brain when we practice gratitude, how we are truly forming new neural pathways and becoming more positive thinkers, and that it feels good along the way by those little doses of dopamine and serotonin that we get when we think about gratitude. So that makes us feel good in the moment and makes us want to do it more. And then when we do it more, we become more positive thinkers. We truly form those new neural pathways to see the world in a different way. And I love how all of that works, how there's so much science behind it. And I love that gratitude is accessible on our worst day. And I feel like I'm proof that it is. If I can
Mm-hmm.
find it in a cup of hazelnut coffee while my fiance is dying, then I believe we can find it on any day, even
Mm.
our very worst days. And that is truly what carried me through after his death, and then my father's death, and then rebuilding my life. So my only regret is that I didn't discover gratitude sooner.
Mm. Hmm. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that story with us. The experience. It's a beautiful lesson, full of emotion. There's so much emotion there. Yeah. And I love too the the reality with which you share it, in that gratitude can't. I think where sometimes people hear the word, oh, gratitude, and they may turn their minds off, is because sometimes over the years, I think it has become almost like a band-aid, rather than the encouragement to sit with the emotion rather than run away from it or push it away and avoid it, and just be grateful for all the other things you have, right? Because that's so
Right.
fake and so
Right.
invalidating for the pain. But the
Yes.
way that you explain it really highlights the complexity and the layers of how gratitude, along with the processing of the grief and the loss and the despair that we feel, can be comforting and can help us heal and grow. I love that. Mm.
And I think I love that you mentioned that it's not a band-aid, that it's not a replacement for experiencing sorrow and grief. I always try to avoid calling an emotion negative, because when we call it negative, it makes us not want to feel it and
Yep.
to deny, where it's so important to process the grief, disappointment, betrayal, anger, all of that the pain is so
Hmm.
important to allow ourselves to feel and process. Gratitude is simply one way to help move forward and kind of not get stuck there. Often
Yes.
people are afraid of addressing the grief or betrayal or whatever emotion it might be, out of fear of getting stuck there. And gratitude is one way to not get stuck there, to help move
Mm.
forward.
Love it.
But I see processing those painful emotions as a prerequisite for joy. Like, it's joy's on the other side, but we first absolutely must process those painful emotions first. That we cannot heal what we don't feel. I love that quote
Oh,
from Edith
yes. Oh, I
Eger.
love that. I'm writing that down. We cannot
Yes,
heal what we don't feel.
heal. Yes, and that's from Edith Eger, a wonderful psychologist. I think she's 92 now. She's written two wonderful books, The Gift and The Choice. And in her, she's been doing a lot of podcasts with the recent book promotion, and she frequently uses that quote. And I absolutely love it and believe it to my core, that we cannot heal what we don't feel. So she's a huge proponent of feeling pain, feeling our emotions,
Yes.
um, and I've lived it. So it's helpful when you've lived something. It just helps you really believe that it's true. And I
Hmm.
think that's part of what helped me heal, is that I faced my grief head on. I did the grief work, and
Hmm.
it really was work, but I trusted that joy was on the other side.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yes. Trust and faith, right? Trusting and faith that it's joy is there somewhere to be found, to
Yes,
be
and
experienced
hope.
again, and hope.
And hope. I got my hands on any book that I could find
Mm.
where someone had gone through difficulty, loss, tragedy, and life was good again. My favorite was Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning,
Mm-hmm.
and how he was able to use the power of his mind and his thoughts to overcome grief and have meaning in his life. And I felt, if he could do it with all that he lost during the Holocaust, that I could do it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can you say the woman's name again one more time? The
Sure.
quote.
Edith
Edith.
Eger.
Okay.
Last name is Eger, and she's a
Wonderful.
psychologist. And the quote is, "We cannot heal what we don't feel."
Yes, and I'll put those references in the show notes as well. But yeah, thank you. That's love it. Love it. I am so excited to connect with you here. And I'm also excited to tell you about this amazing program that I have developed, that I've designed and delivered to you, called the Design and Flow program. This program is one that I have spent lots and lots of time and energy, love. I have poured my soul, my spirit, my heart into developing this program, Design and Flow, for people like us, people who love to learn, who love to grow, who love to heal in a meaningful way along the path of life, with the ups and downs, bumps in the roads that we all face as humans, and to really look at them in a way that feels authentic, that feels good, that feels like we're making some kind of meaning, and that we are on the path to our purpose and our mission. If you have found me here, then you know that I believe you are right where you are meant to be. You are. You are meant to find me here. Check it out on the website, drliz.com/flow. That's drlyz.com/FLO. Lots and lots of goodies and golden nuggets are there for you to experience learning, growing, learning about yourself, becoming more authentically connected with who you are so that you feel more joy, less stress, more confident, more connected and loved with yourself and with your loves. Ooh, I'm so excited about this program and I cannot wait to connect with you there. In addition to the tools and resources there, we get to hang out. We get to hang out live, we chat, I bring your questions, I will have answers, and we will just find another way to really make meaning of the things that we experience in this life. And I cannot wait to connect with you at Design and Flow. Again, check it out at my website, drliz.com/flow, FLO. Leave off that last W and come to the live call and I'll tell you why. I have found throughout this, this journey of starting the podcast this year is that my listeners, if I had to guess or make an educated guess, I believe that they can identify themselves as survivors of something, like you're saying, something tragic, traumatic, loss, grief, something terrible. Also self-healers, right? So both of us are on that, on that identity as well of recognizing that there's a huge element of healing yourself, sitting with those emotions and the pain and the sadness and the grief, and finding the ways to heal and grow, whether that's you're doing it by yourself and you're reaching out for connection with others. You mentioned you and your mom were together in this time of grief and loss, and then also help others, right? So survivors, self-healers, and then also passing along that energy of healing and growth to others. And so I just think it's so wonderful to connect with people. I just love that we have crossed paths and are connected.
Well, I love that you just said that, connect with people. I'm looking at my table of contents in my book, and chapter 8 is connect with people.
Oh, love it.
That's the title.
Yes.
Yeah. So the power of human relationships. And it's difficult because with COVID, all of that has been so affected. And the more that we can seek out unique ways to interact with other human beings, the more satisfaction and happiness in life we have, including strangers. I love connecting with complete strangers. I always thought my father was, he would always embarrass me by talking to people wherever he went. And that was his secret to joy. And now I do it too. And slowly, when I do it in front of my teenagers, I know I embarrass them, but I can also see that they are experiencing the benefits of it too.
Yes.
By seeing me doing that and then joining in on the conversation. Particularly on a chairlift, when you're on the chairlift, you are forced to ride with strangers. There's chairlifts that hold 6 people, sometimes 8 people, and we just got from back from 2 resorts in Vermont where they were 6-person chairlifts. So you have to ride with other people, and some people are quiet, but the ones that are open to conversation, it is so interesting to connect. And I might start it or somebody else, but then my daughters would always chime in, and then we'd all be laughing and getting off the chairlift, feeling like we met, have a new friend.
Yes.
So just that's one of my tips with my clients that I work with. Like, use strangers now, connect with people, put down the phone when you're on a grocery line. We're just so accustomed to whipping out the phone for entertainment, and it's missed opportunity to connect with complete strangers. Use the clerk's name if they're wearing a name tag. Talk to the person behind you. And there truly is no such thing as small talk. It all matters, and it all makes us feel connected to our communities and to the world, which we need right now more than ever.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Because sometimes, yeah, I would say sometimes I have thought of small talk as sometimes not like that, and not inspiring of connection. But I love that shift in perspective of just how much you can make a meaningful connection even in a brief moment or brief period of time. So great. Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't matter if you're never going to see that person again. That
Right.
moment matters.
Absolutely.
And even introverts, even people who consider themselves introverts, who prefer to um, stay at home or not talk to people, the research shows that even when they self nudge and talk to strangers, that they report more happiness than if they had not.
Yeah. Oh, you're giving so many great tips of things that people can do. So I hope at listeners, as you're listening, there are some very explicit suggestions and tips. And then underneath that too, here are the things that are underneath the surface as well. But I love that little phrase, self nudge, right? Because we do have to push ourselves a little bit outside of our comfort zone sometimes, and especially in this age, and it's almost 2 years that we've been in the pandemic, I don't know, funk, I guess is a way to describe it. Um, Appreciating those opportunities for connection, I think, is definitely one of the silver linings I would say that I've definitely experienced. I remember one of the first times we were able to go out again, right? Like go out in public and be in a store or I was getting coffee at Wawa, and just even though we were wearing masks and just talking and saying hi and smiling, even though it's with a mask, you can see smiles in our eyes, was just so uplifting for me. And I came like bouncing out of the coffee, out of Wawa, like, just so excited to connect. And so one of the silver linings, I would say.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
Connecting with people.
Hmm. So I have
Wherever
a
you can.
question for you. Here at Visionistas and in my practice, one of the things that we talk about a lot is you mentioned the mind-body connection, and how we know that there's tons of research out there of how there's so much connection, not just with people, but within ourselves, that can help us connect more authentically with who we are. And then that also helps us connect more authentically with others. So we talk about here the mind, body, heart, the soul, and the spirit, and how they're all interconnected. My question for you is, when you hear those different aspects, what would you pick as your go-to mind, body, heart, soul, spirit for you personally, professionally? Which one resonates most with you?
I would have to say heart. Yes, and how that is just related to love and human connection and relationships and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely
Good.
heart. And a heart. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yeah. I'm a heart person too. Yes, very much so. Thank you. So, we are going to move into our this or that phase of our podcast episode. Before we do that, I just want to give a rundown of where can we find you, website, social media. Tell us your books again.
Sure, sure. I'm be found psychology wise, it's drpeggydelong.com, and on Instagram, the Gratitude Psychologist. And for bracelets, the website is Love in a Bracelet, and also Instagram, Love in a Bracelet. And my 3 books can be found on my website, drpeggydelong.com, or on Amazon. But I've got lots of copies that I can send out to anybody immediately and sign. And those are Feeling Good, 35 Proven Ways to Happiness, Even During Tough Times. And that is a book teaching all of the different simple tools for joy. And the memoir is I Can See Clearly Now, a
Mm,
memoir about love, grief, and gratitude. And that is my experience of going through the losses of my fiance and my father and really rebuilding my life. And it's such what people are getting out of that book is a story of hope and that life can be good again after any type of difficulty, and the power of human relationships. And then the 3rd book is The Gratitude Journal. And that I put together using the research in psychology related to gratitude, and that a gratitude journal is, we can maximize it when we do two different things: when we write something different every day, and when we get specific about what we're writing about. So I provide 30 different writing prompts, and then it repeats 12 times. So you don't have to think about what you, if you're, tired and lacking in mental energy, I give you the prompt, and then you can write about that prompt of the day.
I love that. Yeah. And then I also wanted if you could talk a little bit about the 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 membership program that you do, feeling good. Feeling good. Yes.
Yes. Everything that I do is really about feeling good. Sometimes that doesn't mean happiness. That can just be in the middle of grief, feeling just a little bit better. So feeling
Mm-hmm.
good. So the Feeling Good program is the online companion group to the book. So anybody who purchases the paperback copy has 3 months of free membership. And then it's a very affordable way to address mental health and personal development. Unfortunately, in our country, access to quality mental health care is not available to everybody. It can be expensive. Finding somebody that is covered by insurance, so many different barriers. And I try to address that by developing this online program where anybody can participate. We have a theme of every month, and that's related to mental health and personal development. And I provide weekly inspirations, weekly emails, and then have a monthly meeting online. But everything is under the umbrella of feeling good.
Oh, I love that. Yes, and so I resonate so much with that purpose and passion to just kind of give these strategies, put them out there for people in any way that we can, right? So the podcast came from that very same place of wanting to deliver strategies and tips and tools in real life terms, very accessible, because a lot of times when we do see people in our work as psychologists, therapists in the office, it is after tragedy, or it is because of crisis, or it is when something is broken, and one, there's a kind of this, I need to fix this problem, and so great that we have those resources that are reactive in that way, right? So you know those kinds of tools and strategies to heal in times of grief, loss, pain, and then also the importance of, and the drive, I think, over time, and recently more so, of this preventative wellness and preventing calamity, preventing it, or at least promoting health, so that when things happen, because we can't avoid stress, it's just not possible. And life is going to deliver experiences that cause us to feel sad and cause us to have loss. And the things that we can do on a daily basis can put us in a position better to handle and cope with, better to bounce back, have a better chance of resilience, if we're doing some of these things in a more proactive, preventative way.
Yes, absolutely. That's the way I see them, as health promoting
Mm-hmm.
positive activities that help prevent future episodes, or at least minimize the intensity and
Yes.
frequency
Yes.
of issues. And the good news is that these things feel good while you're doing them.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Yeah.
have two benefits. They feel good while you're
Yes.
doing them, and then they help for a more satisfaction in life in the future.
Yeah. Love that. Yay. Okay, this or that. So I'm going to ask you three questions, and you pick one and tell us why you chose it. The first one, number one, is Valentine's Day or the 4th of July?
Absolutely Valentine's Day.
I would have guessed that. I would have guessed that.
Yes, because it's all about love. And,
Mm-hmm.
I believe in expressing appreciation for the people in your life on a regular basis. And Valentine's Day just gives us one more opportunity to really focus on that.
Then to eat chocolate.
And yes, and eat chocolate.
And eat chocolate. Okay, next, number two is staples or paper clips?
Ah, Good one. I would have to say paper clips because I'm always stacking and restacking things. I might have a piece of paper that belongs with one idea and then move it to another. And yeah,
And
I like the
it's not as permanent. Yes.
permanent. Yes.
You were saying flexibility at the same time.
I like the flexibility of and that it doesn't leave a mark.
Right. Yes. Yes. Same. Okay. Last one. Okay. At the movie theater. Okay. So you've been there before. At the movie theater, candy or popcorn?
Oh, absolutely popcorn. Yes. I'm conditioned now. I can't go to the movies and not eat popcorn. It's just a given that I will get a big bucket and share it with whoever I'm sitting next to.
So is that transferable to other aspects of your life? Are you more of like a salty, buttery fan over candy sugar, or
No,
just
no,
just
really,
because
just
it's the
when it
movie?
comes to the movies.
The movies.
Yes. Otherwise, I love chocolate, not candy. I'm not into hard candies and other things, but chocolate, I love chocolate.
Okay. All right.
My favorite is anything Cadbury. My husband and I went to New Zealand for our honeymoon, and they had a
Oh,
Cadbury factory. I think it was made in
wow.
New Zealand back then. So our dessert every night was we would share a Cadbury bar.
Oh
So
my
now that's
gosh.
our go-to gift for each other is just
Oh, I love
to that
that.
Cadbury.
Very special, very special.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here. This was so much fun. I feel like I truly believe that when I cross paths with people, it is for a reason. And
Yes.
yes, I'm so glad that we connected, and look forward to our just supporting each other as we continue in this life and in this profession. I truly have enjoyed our conversation today and look forward to talking to you again in the future, of course. One more time, tell us your websites where we can find you. And then if there's anything else you wanted to say, go for it.
Sure, sure. My websites again are drpeggydelong.com, and the bracelets are loveinabracelet.com. And my quote would be, don't save gratitude for your good days. Gratitude is truly most powerful on your difficult days.
Love it. What a great place to just say farewell. Okay. Thank you so much, Peggy. And I thank you all for listening. I invite you to let us know you were listening. You could take a screenshot of your phone or wherever you were listening and tag us on Instagram and send the episode to someone that you love. Share the power, spread the love. And I cannot wait to connect with you all again. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Peggy. Take care. Thank you for connecting on this episode of the podcast, Empowered by Design. For further connection, subscribe to my email list at drliz.com to be sure that you are in the loop for exciting news, events, and resources. You can also follow me on social media at Dr. Liz and at Visionistas by Design. I invite you to subscribe to this podcast and send this episode to one of your people in order to share the love, spread the power. This podcast is designed to inspire, educate, and empower you to pursue your dreams with intentional vision. This podcast is not meant to be a substitute for psychological treatment or a working relationship with a licensed mental health professional. For more information on connecting with mental health resources in your area, visit drliz.com and click on resources. Thank you again for connecting. And remember, trust the heart, work your vision, dream, design, deliver.